Hard to capture, extravagant, resurrect the track and it's militant. And I react like a convict and start killing. It's manifested. The God's work like appliances, dealing in my psyche.
Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explained here, bringing you guys another discussion for Boruto chapter 46. And for the anime only fans, I know I'm talking a lot of spoilers, but the people that read the manga chapter can tell you that while it was a lot of action heavy stuff in this chapter, there are also quite a few dumps of lore that happen in the chapter. So I'm gonna be talking more spoilers than usual, but with that being said, I have an entire playlist section on the channel that deals with non-spoilers and stuff that deals with novels and Naruto to go and Naruto what ifs and all these other non-spoiler content videos. So I thank you for your support, but if you're still here, I'm gonna assume you're okay with me talking about spoilers. So this last chapter, you had that one moment where Amado, as he's telling you how Isshiki came into possession of Jigen's body, you have this moment where Amado says he doesn't know the full story of why Isshiki was betrayed by Kaguya, and that really got the wheels turning in my head, and it actually made me think about a link that one of you guys sent me on Twitter. If you're watching the video, make sure you give yourself a shout out down in the comment section below. But what I wanted to kind of talk to you guys about is if we take a look at the actual folklore that deals with Ishun, which is basically the folklore of the 1-inch man in Japan, which is what inspires Isshiki, and then you look at the information that was given to us in the anime original art that dealt with what happened when Kaguya came to Earth and how she had her descend into basically the path of the tyrant, and then you look at what we got in the actual manga, I think we can piece together what actually happened here. So I want to just go ahead and say right now that basically when it gets to the actual folklore, there are two different interpretations of the folklore that I'm going to be presenting to you guys. I'm going to tell you guys which one I actually side with. So let's look at what we know first. Okay, so we know from the Naruto manga that Hagoromo said Kaguya came from a faraway land. Okay, we all totally know that. She came from a faraway land. She planted the divine tree, ate the chakra fruit, and she ended up being a tyrant or whatnot, and Hagoromo and Hamura had to stop her. Now, when we look at the anime content, we know that Kaguya descended from the heavens, and Kaguya ended up living amongst people. She ended up getting pregnant by a mortal. She ended up eating the chakra fruit, and then she basically descended onto the path of the tyrant. So that's all fine and dandy, and I think that in that anime original arc, I think that does tie into why she betrayed Isshiki, which is basically the fact that Kaguya, she had already ate the fruit, but Kaguya had also given birth to children. And we don't know necessarily what those Otsutsuki's laws are when it comes to having children with people from other races. We don't necessarily know what that is. And if you go by what was said in the Naruto manga that Kaguya was seen as a princess, if we say that she's a princess in the Otsutsuki clan, we don't know whether or not she was betrothed to another. We don't know whether or not that's frowned upon, but I think that that's something important we need to look at. So when I look at the actual folklore, the reason why I kind of went into that direction was in my video where I talked about Isshiki was not Kaguya's partner. One of the things that I was hammering home was the fact that it really feels like Isshiki has a bigger role than just being, oh, this is her tag team partner that came to the planet with her. And I pointed out the fact that with Momoshiki and Kinshiki was viewed as a father figure to Momoshiki, and I said, well, Isshiki has to have a similar role. It can't just be that he's accompanying her, because when you look at Naruto and Sasuke, they don't know that Kinshiki was Momoshiki's guardian. That's not information that they have. That's information that we have as the audience based on the novelization for the Boruto movie. So I bring that up to say that when you look at the actual folklore, I think that we can start looking at what Isshiki's relationship was with Kaguya and why he actually betrayed her. So when you look at the Isshin Boshi folklore, okay, so you have two stories. So you have one version of the story where you had a couple that couldn't have children, and they eventually did get one child. This child was very, very small. He was only 1 inch in height, and so he ended up going to the capital, and he wanted to become a great warrior. And what ended up happening was that he found this very prosperous family, and what ended up happening was that the family had a very beautiful daughter, and the daughter was kidnapped by demons. And in particular, if I'm not mistaken, the folklore refers to them as demons or ogres. And when you look at the novelization for the Boruto movie, Momoshiki was referred to as being an ogre in that novelization. When you look at his transformed state in the movie and the way that Masashi Kishimoto drew him, it's different than what Ikimoto drew in the Boruto manga and in the Boruto anime. Momoshiki's form, his fused form with Kinshiki, looks more like an ogre. So that's very important, and you're gonna see why when I continue further. So basically what ended up happening was that the girl was kidnapped by these demons or ogres, and so Isshiki tried to save the girl, and he ended up getting swallowed up. And then that's when Isshiki inside of the body was poking the insides of the demons, and he was able to get spit out, and he ended up saving the girl because of that. And so when this happened, Ishun picked up the magic hammer, and he was able to grow his body several feet, and so he ended up marrying the girl. And so what ended up happening was that the family prospered for many generations after the fact. So when you look at this first interpretation, basically Ishun ended up marrying a girl from a very wealthy family. He ended up marrying a girl who was saved by ogres. We know that Kaguya was afraid of Momoshiki and Kinshiki, okay? So they fit the whole thing of the demons slash ogres. The other thing is that when you look at the fact that Ishun married the girl, that kind of fits in what I was saying, that I really feel like it's going to be revealed that Kaguya was betrothed, or Kaguya was actually married to Isshiki, and because she had children out of wedlock and with an inferior species on top of that, that her own children might have been at risk, which would have explained why Kaguya ended up turning against Isshiki, because once Isshiki came up, Isshiki might have realized that she had children, and then that's why Kaguya was able to catch him off guard out of fear that she was going to lose her children, because we do know from that arc that Kaguya loved her children a lot. So that does make sense. That makes a lot of sense, actually. So I want to go into the second version of the Ishun myth that you have as far as with the Japanese mythology for it. So in the second myth, what you end up getting is a little darker, but the same principle still applies here. So in this one, you have a scenario where Ishun is still born to a couple, but they ended up getting very disturbed by the fact that the kid never actually grew, and so they worried, okay, we gave birth to a monster, we gave birth to a demon of some sort. And so what ended up happening was that Ishun ends up going to live with the chancellor of the country, right? So the chancellor of Japan, he ends up going there, and he ends up falling in love with the chancellor's daughter, which does kind of fit into what the whole theme, like Kaguya is supposed to be a princess, so you could have a scenario where Isshiki playing the role of Ishun in this scenario ends up being in the Otsutsuki clan's palace and everything, working, ends up falling in love with Kaguya. That does make sense. Now here's the thing, okay, so Ishun ended up falling in love with the chancellor's daughter, and he wanted to make her his wife, but he felt, because, oh man, I'm so short, because he comes up a little short in all the areas that matter. Because that happens, he basically got in a situation where he came up with a plan, and he schemed in order to try and make the princess his, or excuse me, the daughter of the chancellor's his. So he ended up getting these rice grains, and he put it on the family altar, and he put it in the girl's mouth, and then he took a tea bag and he pretended to cry. So when the chancellor sees all this and sees that Isshiki's crying and everything, Ishun lies, and he says that the girl stole some of the rice, and he had been storing. So the chancellor believes that attempted to kill his daughter, and Ishun was able to trick the chancellor into letting him leave the house with his daughter, and so he began to be the one responsible for his daughter. So that also fits into what I was saying with the whole mythology part, and what I said in my video about Isshiki is not Kaguya's partner. I said, hey, you know, he could be a guardian figure as well, but maybe on a higher level. So that does fit that part right there. Now, in this version of the story as well, you also have the moment where Ishun is still fighting the demons, but instead of poking through the stomach and everything, he ends up going out through the eye, which maybe that has something to do with the Jogan. We don't know that yet. But the other thing is that we find out is that after the fact is that you get to this part where Isshun is able to return back to the palace, and the emperor takes a liking to Isshun, and he ends up giving him the rank of, if I'm not mistaken, he ends up giving him the rank of being counselor to the emperor. Okay, and so you also have one more version of the story where you also have a situation where Isshun ends up marrying the daughter. Okay, and the reason why is that back during the imperial period and everything, one of the things that you saw like in that folklore and everything is that when a woman accepts the suitor's food and she puts it into her mouth, it ends up being a situation where she accepts the marriage proposal and they become married. And so when you look at this right here, you also see it line up. In the first version, Isshun takes the hammer, he grows 6 feet, he and the princess end up getting married. The girl gets married. In this version, this other version, he puts food in her mouth, and because she accepted it, they ended up getting married. And then you also have another part where basically after leaving with the emperor, he and the princess or the girl end up getting married. So after leaving the chancellor's place, they end up getting married or whatnot. So that does make a lot of sense right there. And you know, when you go into deeper Japanese mythology, you know, one of the things that you see in a few other things is that, you know, women getting tricked into marrying a suitor is something that, you know, has happened on a few different occasions. So I think that that could be the case right there. I think that, you know, once we get more information, Kaguya is going to be painted in a sympathetic light. That's what they tried to do with the filler arc, or I guess we should call it mixed canon, because it's not really filler. So that's what they tried doing in that anime original arc, was to make you realize that, hey, Kaguya, there's more to her story here. Because in the manga, it was very to the point. Kaguya, anybody who read the manga when the manga was weekly would tell you that Kaguya was shoved down our throats with absolutely no explanation. It was almost a year after she was name dropped before we even saw her in the manga. There was no type of explanation. So, you know, when you look at all this, it makes sense. So I'm gonna say that I'm gonna stick with the theory I had before based on the mythology, as well as what that kind of lines up with the manga and anime, which is that Isshiki is gonna be revealed to be Kaguya's original husband, or something that has to do with his standing with the Otsutsuki clan, and Kaguya, out of fear for her children, of losing her children, ends up betraying Isshiki. And it really fits into one of the overlying themes that you got with the Boruto series, which is it's about parents and children. That's something that's been a constant when it comes to this Boruto era, the bond between parent and children. So that's going to be very interesting if that's the route that they take. I think that that can change Kaguya's character for a lot of people. I know for me, if this ends up being revealed, I'll totally give Kaguya a pass. I will no longer call Kaguya a trash character if that's the case. So let me know what you guys think on this, and let me know if you guys want me to start maybe discussing some of the other mythology when it comes to the Naruto franchise. You know, for this one, I went off script, so I didn't actually have the actual mythology kind of pulled up right in front of me or whatnot, but let me know if that's something you guys are interested in, and maybe I can start doing some Naruto to go, talking about some of the mythology behind like the different dojutsu and some of the jutsu names and some of the characters and their relationships. I think that'd be pretty fun. So let me know what you guys want down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.